Hello, I'm Arnold Lowrey. Before you start painting, there's 3 questions you really want to ask yourself. The first is, what do I want to paint? Then, why do I want to paint it? And then thirdly, how am I going to paint it? In this case, I want to paint some boats. And why do I want to paint it? Well, I'd like to put them in a sunset situation. And how am I going to do it? Well, I'm going to use lots of colour. So let's get on with it, and here we go. Well, I'm going to start by wetting the paper all over. Someone once said that when the paper's wet, it's alive. When it's dry, it's dead. There's lots of things you can do in watercolour when the paper's wet that you just cannot do when it's dry. Right, now is the time to put some paint on. So the first colour I'm going to put on is gamboge. I'm using plenty of paint. Some people think that paint needs to be left in the tube. It's no good there at all. I'm painting in all different directions to make sure you don't get it have streaky lines. And because the paper's wet, everything is soft edged. Right, now I'm going to clean the palette and get the next colour. Now the gamboge was a light tone, and I'm going to use a colour now which is a mid-tone, which is a darker colour. So I'm going to have to thin it out a bit with some water to lighten it up so that it doesn't drown out that yellow and it comes in. There we are, just perfect. When I'm adding this colour, I'm controlling the water, and I do this by wringing out my brush and picking up once. And that means that the brush is being loaded from one side only, and you have a half-loaded brush. And it's just the perfect amount of water for this technique. Pick up once, pick up once, and now I'll add some cobalt blue. And again, cobalt blue is a mid-tone. So again, I will have to thin that out with some water to bring it up into a light tone. Then I wring out my brush, pick up once, and in we go again. More, wring out, pick up once, By using this technique, you don't end up with any backgrounds or cauliflowers, as some people call them. I think now I'll add a little bit more orange to the top of the picture. So I'm going to use some cadmium orange this time. Ring out, pick up once. A bit more power in there. Make sure you work quickly and keep this paper wet. Working in all different directions and evening it out. And maybe even a bit of cadmium red. Why not? As you can see, it's just the perfect amount of water for control. Right, I think it's now time to put some of the distant headland in. So again, I want to wring out my brush. And this time I'm going to mix a little bit of cobalt together with a little bit of permanent rose. Ring out, pick up once. Right, I think it's now time to put the boat in. And for the boat, I'm going to use some ultramarine blue and some cadmium red, because mixed together those two will give quite a nice strong dark. At this stage, you don't have to worry too much about detail, because that will come a little later on when we work around the edges. The inside of the shape is not important. It's the silhouette that counts, and that's 95% of the job. Now I think the sky's a little bit wet still at the moment, so what I'll do, I'll get on with the sea. So I'll clean my palette and I'll re-wet the sea.